Hello, I'm Alston. I want to go over a few things about the Charlie Kirk assassination that really doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I'm going to be going over a few things. I am roughly 135 pounds. I'm 5'9", 5'10", around the same size as this male. I might be a little bit smaller, okay? But just to kind of indicate, I'm almost the same size as this individual to a T. Okay, I might be a little more ugly, but that's neither here nor there, and a slight bit older. But let's go over a few things. This is the closest rifle that I have, which is a semi-automatic 12-gauge shotgun. I know things aren't quite, the same here, but let's just kind of use this for kind of a reference. I'm seeing all over the internet that, the gun was maybe around 42, all the way up 42 inches to 4 foot long. All right, this gun has a longer barrel on it, so it might be a little bit shorter than this firearm. Okay, this is used generally for dove hunting, or geese, or duck, or whatever. Okay, but what I want to go over here is this gun is absolutely unloaded, double verified, check the magazine tube, safety's on, action's open the whole time I'm doing this, alright? Safety first. Okay, what I want to do is kind of represent, this is touching the ground here, I want to represent how big this firearm would be to this individual, okay? It's pretty big. Now, a couple things I want to go over here. I am going to turn around and put this gun and try to conceal it. I'm going to put the butt of the gun because I feel like that's the only option he could have had, and I'll go over that here in a second. But I'm going to turn around and try to conceal this firearm. She's a little cold, so if I flinch a couple times, that's probably why. Alright, so standing here, and I'm wearing pretty loose pants as well. He was wearing more of a skinny-esque jean type deal. But what I want to go over is anytime I barely try to bend my leg, what do you see happening? Okay? A lot of printing of the firearm. Now, the firearm is in my right side over here, okay? And I'm wearing a lot looser pants, I believe, than this guy has. I can only keep the butt of the gun on my foot, otherwise it's going to come out of my pant leg. And every time I barely move, like if I move my foot back, that's about 4 inches of movement between there and there. And you're getting like 6 inches of printing of this gun. So you're not moving. Another thing is I cannot bend my knee at all. And this is with looser pants than that gentleman had on. Okay? Now, if I did this yesterday, but for the barrel to be down there, absolutely you can't really do it because it just starts falling out of your pant legs. And I also have like scrunchy things around my ankles because of these sweatpants. Alright? So, that discloses that this individual in any way did absolutely not conceal that firearm. Plus, you have to add that he had a scope on the top of this, which would, add maybe around this much length and be bulky, like, you know what I mean? It's going to add more mass to the gun and as well weight. There's no way that this person in any of the scenes that we have been given by the FBI concealed that firearm in his clothing. And I've seen a lot of people say, oh, he went like this. No, he did. Dude, you can't, like, even if I had that in my skin, there's no way, like, this firearm is pretty heavy, and I expect the other one's pretty heavy as well, around 10 pounds, okay? There's no way he had it up under his armpit, all right? I'm just telling you that because I'm just telling you that, okay? I don't care how much he practiced. He would have had to probably spend years practicing trying to conceal that thing without breaking it down. Now, there's a couple more things I want to go over. Like I said, I'm about the same size as this person. And I was like, well, maybe he put it in a backpack, right? That's what they claim. Okay, so This is roughly about this is my daughter's backpack, but it's just a generic general size backpack in which I think that he had about this. It was obviously a different color and made of different material, but generally around the same size. Let's go over that. So when I put this on, oh god, his might have been a little bit bigger, okay? I think his was just a little bit bigger than this. Now that I'm looking at it on the thing. I know these straps need to, where it's sitting and everything else. Let me be right back real quick for a second. Alright, I feel like we're getting closer with this one. This one's, I think, a little bit bigger. And his might have been just a tad bit bigger than this, okay? Might be just a hair bigger than this backpack, okay? On what he was using. Let me kind of take you over here and show you where I'm about to start talking about stuff, okay? Now, maybe the guy broke the firearm apart. We've heard that. Well, let's kind of get into that, I guess. On that particular firearm, okay, the lower chassis and or stock is all one piece going down, okay? And it would be about the same size as and it's a free-floated barrel and everything else from here all the way back to the end of the stock, okay? Oh, that's even better. So it would be about this length that you see represented right here. And then the top action and receiver, bolt, scope, the whole action and barrel comes off up this way. Okay? Do you see? Let's give this backpack a chance. Maybe his was 8 inches taller. Which I really doubt, by the way, but let's give it that. 8 inches more tall. Are you fitting this in any way into that backpack? Something the size of this. Are you coming to the same conclusion that I am? And then the barrel as well on that gun would end about here. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt, and you shave off like 6 to 8 inches off this thing. It's still going to be generally almost the length of this stock. Maybe a couple inches shorter. But you're not getting that stock in that backpack in any way. That debunks. And as well, on these firearms, there would be a couple of bolts that you would have to take off on that particular firearm. There would be like 1 here, 2 here, 3 here, 4 here, right? So just kind of in that general area. Not only that, but they could, and I've seen it before, be different. Like one could be a flathead, the other one could be a Phillips. I've seen it be hex keys. I've seen it, I've seen a whole bunch of variations depending on the hardware that was found. Because I want to bring another thing up. That stock was fully, what you see here is wood. But on that stock, it was synthetic. That model is only really made, I'm pretty sure, I could be very wrong on this, but 99.9% I'm sure are made with wood stocks. And then you can get a sporting stock for it and or synthetic stock for it. I think they usually call those sport stocks. But what I'm trying to get at is here, if this guy took this off and took the barrel off of the stock, they're in here, like, just try to imagine the stock for me. I don't have the exact gun and I apologize, but there's an internal magazine that stays in the stock. And as soon as you take the upper receiver / barrel off of that firearm, that spring in the bottom of the stock is going to shoot those bullets out, and then you got to go and pick up all the bullets. And then when you put the gun back together, so the FBI says how they found it, you're going to have to put all the screws back in, and they are different screws. So you're going to have to you're not going to be able to lose any of the screws. You're going to have to take the bolt back out of the gun. You're going to have to reload the gun and then put the other one back in the chain. For what? Dude, that didn't happen. That didn't happen. And they've shown things like this in a whole bunch of different courts for people like you and me. When people say something and they're like, everybody agrees the likelihood of that happening is negligible. And I think we can come to that same conclusion on these theories. As well as if you look at the firearm that is presented in the evidence, in that little box, you look at the scope rings on that scope, okay? Now, generally, when you fire a firearm, okay, I'm going to try to get all this in frame here. You put the butt up here. Oh. Your cheek's going to sit on this here cheek well, so you could either look at the aperture of the iron sights and or a scope and also you have a eye box in that scope to where you can see clearly out of it. So your face is going to be sitting up here. Look at the scope rings on that firearm that are generally sitting about like right here where my two fingers are, okay? And you'll notice that the scope is positioned all the way back. That is very weird to me, because if anybody were to, set that up and you would get on the rifle and look at it, I would pretty much be touching that scope right to my eye, okay? Where the scope is positioned on that firearm. And if I were to shoot a caliber such as that of 30-06, which is even more powerful than a .308 out of that rifle, I would have some type of damage to my face, in which we call getting scoped. It does happen because there's a lot of recoil on that projectile. So when I'm sitting here and that scope is touching my face, because that's probably where it would be if I'm in a prone position, and I am using this cheek well for an accurized shot, the recoil, this pushing back when I pull that trigger, would more than likely smack him right in the freaking eye. Just saying, I've seen it happen many times, and it's not a very pretty sight. It's pretty bloody, and it does leave black eyes. I've seen it it's happened to me. Even on something as low power as a 5.56, that's why I know what I'm talking about, because I effed up and have done that type of activity. And on mine, there's a Picatinny rail that goes on the top of the AR platform, and I set mine all the way back. And then I didn't really have the adjustable stock all the way back on that, because I'm a smaller guy or whatever, I generally don't have it on the all-out position. And I did fire a shot, and it did scope me. And it did leave some freaking bruising. Even something that small. So if you put all these things together and use common sense thinking, you can come to the same conclusion that I have come to. That we are being lied to about more than one thing on this ongoing investigation that they can't talk about. Why can't they talk about stuff on an ongoing investigation? If they already had the suspect in custody, they already have to legally, on the court case, I forget what it's called, like the preliminary hearing, to where they give him the evidence and his attorney the evidence that's going to be used against him. Nothing about this adds up at all. I wish we would get some more information on the whole Butler, Pennsylvania thing, honestly. And this thing stinks like shit. If you have any theories and whatever else, also, one more thing. I have somebody that I'm talking to that is in agreement with me about the whole body armor thing. And they are much, bigger or whatever than I am and everything else, and has more connections and whatever else. But they are talking to the, who's that? The security team, detail, on Charlie Kirk, and they are either going to confirm or not confirm the body armor, because they said, hey, you know, his wife really tries to get him to put it on every time and stuff, and he sometimes is kind of hesitant on wanting to do that and everything. I get it, because I've worn PPE pretty much, and a lot of the times it'll save your life, definitely, but it is not comfortable in any way. You know what I mean? To wear for an extended period of time, especially, and in high stress situations. Which, debating in a big crowd of people, I could, you know, I would be sweating a lot more and everything else, because I'd be nervous and yeah. But if you have any additional information on anything, or think that I'm an idiot, maybe you could just let me know. Thank you for watching.